I
Yeah.
was not all that surprised to see Orlando waive Bol Bol, I guess. I said at the deadline, I got a lot of shit from people at the deadline saying that I thought Orlando should look to like try to trade him and cash in on like the first half of the season value that he displayed. And now they're going to end up getting nothing for him because they waived him. They have the front court depth to be able to manage this. He's like more of a wing than he is a front court player. Like he can't. The problem with Bol Bol is he can't defend. He can't defend anybody. He's never been able to really defend anybody because he can't anchor at the center position, and his hips are so high that he's not actually capable of like sliding in space and being able to handle wings and guards and things like that. Bol Bol's like not a player I would look to sign if I was running a team, but I agree that he's talented and think he's like a really fun player. It gets into what I talk about all the time with Spinella when we do draft stuff. Like, there's a difference between being a novel player that is interesting and fun and like creative and does cool things on the court and being like a good player and like a good prospect and somebody that is impacting winning at a high level, which is ultimately what NBA teams care about. Right now, Bol Bol is novel. He is not all that impactful on winning. Uh, Mark, what are your thoughts on Bol Bol? Because I was truly not surprised to see this happen.
Yeah, I mean, I was with you at the deadline. I thought that they should have probably looked to move him. And correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like there were rumblings that they were shopping him or trying to find a way to move him. I don't want to misquote anybody, but I do remember seeing stuff like that. And that just makes sense. Like, and this is to be fair. Like, I think Bol Bol legitimately did get better as a basketball player last year, but it's just important to note why. Like, yes, the numbers popped, but a lot of it was okay. Orlando was killed. Like, it's easy to forget. Orlando got hammered with injuries in the first month and a half of the season last year. Like, Suggs was out, Cole Anthony was out, Markel still wasn't back yet. So like they had very little at the guard spot, and they just leaned into saying, "Hey, okay, we have nobody who can stay in front of the ball on defense. We have nobody who can really bring the ball up on offense and run pick and roll for us. So we're going to play really big. We're going to play a shit ton of zone, and we're going to go from there." So they empowered Bol to like it. Part of what was again important to know, like they gave Bol usage. They said, "Okay, we're going to let you rip and run and get things going in transition. We're going to let you initiate some things in the half court, and we're going to play a ton of zone, and you're going to be able to be impactful as a help side defender." And I thought it was really important for them trying to figure everything. I mean, that was like Paolo was like pretty much their point guard to start the season, which I think again like just reinforces how awesome Paolo was this last year. Like that he came in and was
Yeah.
doing that right away. But again, like I think as soon as the team got healthy, they went away from it. And Bol was just getting spot minutes off the bench from time to time. Eventually was pretty much out of the rotation. I mean, this felt like pretty foreseeable. And again, I don't mean that to be unfair. Like I think that if you look at some of the more zone heavy teams, like I don't necessarily think he fits at all what Miami wants to do. But if you look at teams that are more comfortable running zone, like maybe there's a chance that they swing on him and see if he can do some of the things. But I think part of what the issue is like he's not a player who really thrives just being an off-ball scorer. Like he's a guy who really needs to have the ability to set himself up with his handle. And like, I mean, like we just mentioned, getting out in transition is really big for him. Getting the opportunity to create his own shot is big because, like you mentioned with the stuff with Wemby, what's so different is their release point. Like he's 7'2", but his release point is not high in a shot. Like he doesn't really get a lot of lift off the ground. Like yes, by being 7'2" and releasing the ball is high, but he was one of the most blocked players per attempt last year because of what his release point can be when it's off the catch. Like, like they opted to try and just not spot him up in the corners that much last year, or tried to really get away from that because he really struggled with the actual timing on his shot. Like it takes him a while to actually get his shot off. So again, like I think that there are things that he can do on the basketball court that are positive and really solid, but I think again, like you're looking at this was such a condensed version of what the team was and what the team was asking of him was so out there for what a team would ask for of him in terms of, like you mentioned, in terms of impacting winning. He's just not there yet. That's being realistic. That's being honest about who he is as a player, and that's why he fell out of the rotation. Like I really do hope that he's able to put things together and things can work for him, but I think it's going to have to happen in a very again, like a team that's saying, hey, we're going to just play strictly zone when you're on the court and find a way to be comfortable doing it. And okay, then you have to have the personnel that makes it possible to do that and be effective in it, not just have it be, like you mentioned, like a gimmick that your team runs just because you have one guy who is most effective doing that. Like, it's just, there are a lot of confluencing factors that are all coming together in what made Bol pop early on in the season. That it's just really, like, it's tough to see him replicating that in just your average NBA situation.
I think it's right. I think it needs to be in a situation where he can continue to grow and is going to continue to get to make mistakes, which means it can't be in a situation where a team is trying to win. Orlando wants to try and win more games this year. It's actually hard to find teams that aren't trying to win more games this year. Portland could be one of them if they move Damian Lillard. Washington, it seems like, is going to be one of them. San Antonio, like, theoretically might be one of them, although I think that Wembanyama is probably going to force them to win sooner than people think. But it's actually hard to find the teams. Like, I was looking at, Matt Moore did win projections for the Southeast Division, and he had Charlotte at like 25.5. And then I was like, well, to me, like, Charlotte's probably going to be a little bit better next year. They're going to get full seasons from LaMelo and get Miles Bridges back. And, they're going to have Gordon Hayward and everything like that, right? Terry Rozier, like, they can be a little bit older. Maybe they get PJ Washington back. Like, you can make some sort of case on this, right? But then you look through history in terms of the number of teams over the last 5 years that win 25 games or fewer. Mark, do you know on average how many teams in the NBA per season win 25 games or fewer every year for the last 5 years?
It's less than one, right? Or it's less than one or right about one.
No, 5.2 teams.
Oh, wow. Okay, never mind. Wow. Okay. Jeez.
Win 25 games or fewer per year. So if you're trying to figure out, who are going to be the worst 5 teams in the league, I probably would have Charlotte there right now. And on average, teams end up losing. If you're one of the 5 worst teams, you probably only win 25 games. That's the way it works. I think you can make a case that there's more parity around the league now, and that there's more teams that are contending. Like, Detroit wants to take a leap forward. Houston wants to take a leap forward. Charlotte is trying to take a leap forward. Like, these teams that were bad last year are trying to move up the rungs. So they should theoretically be better, but historically 5 teams lose, 57 plus games per year. And it's a bit surprising that that's the case, I think. So Bol, I think, needs to find one of those teams that is okay losing 57 plus games and going 25 and 57, because he still has a long way to go and he needs to be able to play through mistakes. That's kind of where I'm at this point on him.